It's time for Tech Talk with Mathew Dickerson. I'm your host, Tony Graham. Good morning, Matthew.
Good morning, Tony. Great to be chatting technology again with you.
It always is, and that's what the audience reckons too, I believe.
You're right. The feedback I get certainly seems to be very positive about Tech Talk in the Wellington area, so well done, Tony.
Well, I was a little bit worried there because I thought there was a bit of silence after I said that comment.
I was waiting for you to follow up. Sorry, Tony. I was waiting for you to come through. It's one of the problems with doing things remotely, isn't it? When you're in the studio, you can see each other, but when we're remote, you're not quite sure whether someone's going to say something or you're always just waiting a little bit.
Yeah, it's true. Anyway, enough of the chit-chat. What's Australia's plan to patrol Australian waters? It's becoming a big issue now, isn't it, when it comes down to defence and China and everything else that's involved?
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. And the latest approach is a little device called a blue bottle, or they've called it Bob the Blue Bottle. And Bob the Blue Bottle is a small boat, if you like, that's driven by wind power, by solar power and by wave power. And it effectively patrols our borders and just sits out there and ticks away out in the ocean looking for suspicious activity, recording various events. And basically when it finds something that it should be maybe concerned about, the authorities are alerted, and then they can go and either look at the footage coming from that particular boat or actually send some real people out there to have a look at it. So it's just a way for a bit of AI, drone type technology, and not drone as in the air, but drone on the water, drone type technology to be used to help protect our borders and just keep an eye on things.
Yes. Now, Matthew, I might add, that's an Australian invention, and the good thing about this is it can stay out there indefinitely.
That's right. It ticks away out there because it's got, let's say, solar and wind and wave power. Effectively, it can stay out there for an indefinite amount of time. Sure, it might be damaged if it hits something, or if maybe some fish life, some larger fish life, take a liking to it. I can see potentially it can be damaged by maybe whales or potentially even sharks if sharks like the idea of it. But the idea is to sit it out there indefinitely and let it just do its job.
Mm. Isn't that great? That's great innovation.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
Now, over the weekend, we had some internet outages, and Telstra gave one reason for that at one stage, and then they changed the idea about why it happened. So you might like to explain that.
Yeah, the first reports that came out of Telstra was that we were under a cyber attack, or Telstra specifically was under a cyber attack, and specifically a denial of service attack. And what happens with a denial of service attack is that a website or a server is just hit with so much traffic that it can't actually perform its normal job. So it's like a gridlock, if you like, a technology gridlock. And so that was supposedly the cause of the outage, and it mainly hit home broadband users in Sydney and Melbourne, but certainly we saw some people out around these areas that were impacted by it as well. But the latest report out of Telstra was that it, in fact, wasn't a cyber attack. There was an impact on their domain name servers, so there certainly was some problems there with their DNS equipment, but they aren't saying what it was now. They're saying it wasn't a cyber attack. It may have just been some issues, some internal issues with those servers. Now, I've heard some speculation that maybe this isn't correct. Maybe it was a cyber attack and the government's told Telstra that they can't tell people that we're under cyber attack because people might be concerned about their data or about just having that cyber attack. So there's a little bit of a question at the moment about whether it is or it was or it wasn't a cyber attack.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you're saying they don't know?
Well, I'm saying the official word from Telstra is that this was not a cyber attack. It was just a problem with some of their domain name servers. But other people have speculated to say that maybe this is Telstra basically trying to allay fears of the public, and maybe there's been some government intervention in there. I can't have any, or I don't have any data or facts to back those two particular claims up. All we know at this stage is that initially it was said it was a cyber attack, and now Telstra said no, it was a problem with our domain name servers.
Yeah, okay. So we'll leave a question mark over that one.
Yeah.
Our next topic is no touchscreens. Now, that sounds a bit like I'm having what you're not having.
A no-touch touchscreen does sound somewhat contradictory. And there's actually some technology that was being researched and developed by the University of Cambridge because there were some concerns with car manufacturers that if you were trying to use a touchscreen while you were driving the car, it was too difficult to get it right because the car's moving around, and it might distract you from your driving while you tried to use the touchscreen and therefore made you a little bit more dangerous on the road. But now we've got another reason to research this a little bit further. Obviously, with COVID-19, the last thing you want is lots of people going around touching things, and hard, flat surfaces, we know from research that's already been done, that COVID-19 will stay on hard, flat surfaces longer. So having a touchscreen somewhere, for example, like a train station, where you might go and buy your tickets at a train station, for lots of other people to come and touch that same touchscreen sounds dangerous. So the no-touch touchscreen basically relies on your gestures, your hand movements, pointing at a screen, and by doing that you can actually do the same as you could with a touchscreen. There's a bit of artificial intelligence involved here in learning the type of movements that people make, and in particular, if you've got it in a vehicle, the type of movements that you might make. But the idea is that you can actually do the same thing as you would with the touchscreen without actually touching the screen.
Right. You might wind up with just nods and winks.
You might end up with a whole range of different things. You might end up having things that you didn't want chosen if it's not quite accurate enough. But I think the research is quite interesting to see that we might get to that point where we're not actually using a touchscreen to touch the screen.
Well, how about voice? Wouldn't that make more sense?
It certainly does, and voice is obviously being, I suppose, developed in a whole range of different ways. And some of the issues they've identified with voice have been just, in particular for a train station, lots of different voices. Training a computer to learn your voice is obviously more effective. So in a vehicle, obviously, that can work more effectively. But in a vehicle, you're also competing with road noise. And the manufacturers would say that they're getting rid of lots of road noise, but you've still got that road noise in the background. So you're competing against that as well. So it is hard to get voice absolutely perfect yet. It just gives you an idea of how clever humans are, that we can understand lots of different voice, background noise, different accents, people that are saying things in a different way. We can understand all of that. So we are, get ready for it, Tony, we are cleverer than a computer, but they're trying to work on getting to the point where maybe it flips over the other way.
Yes, time will certainly allow that to happen, I think. Yeah. Anyway, you'll be listening to Tech Talk with Mathew Dickerson on Binjang 91.5. Stay tuned this afternoon at 3:40 and wait for the next edition. And now it's back to the great music and community information on Binjang.
Great, Tony. We'll talk this afternoon.
Absolutely.